Her words didn't just sting, they detonated. She slammed her glass on the table and hissed, "You were never enough for me, Alex. While you were drowning in hospital bills and chasing hopeless dreams, I was building a real life with Mark. He gave me purpose, gave me 2 sons, and made me feel alive. We used your bed, under your roof, for almost 9 years. And your own sister helped us cover it up. She always said Mark was the brother she wished she had." I didn't blink. Not once. I stood up, calm as ice, looked her in the eye, and said, "Noted, Emma." Then I walked out. That moment, that exact second when the glass hit the oak table and cracked at the base, splitting like my trust, my reality, it became the fulcrum of my entire life. I didn't just walk out of the room. I walked out of the version of me that tolerated betrayal disguised as marriage. Let me take you back, just a few weeks before that nuclear explosion in my dining room, when everything still looked normal. Emma used to be sweet. At least I thought she was. Blonde, classy, charming enough to fool my friends and ruthless enough to make my gut whisper, run, before I ever said, I do. I was too in love, or too blind. Maybe both. It started with little things. Perfume I didn't recognize. Her phone suddenly face down every time I entered the room. My gut began tapping me on the shoulder more often, like a friend trying to get my attention before the ship hits the iceberg. We had been married for 11 years. 11 years of building a future I thought we shared. Mortgage, shared debts, sick nights with our daughter Chloe, family barbecues with her parents who always looked at me like I was a mistake Emma would one day fix. Then there was that Saturday morning. She was laughing on the phone, in the kitchen, early. Too early for her usual grumpy self. I came down for coffee, and she jumped like she'd touched a live wire, instantly snapping into this robotic, snappy tone. "Oh, hey. I was just talking to Tina." Tina, her gym buddy. Tina, who lived across town and couldn't hold a secret if you stapled her mouth shut. "Tell her I said hi," I said. She nodded too fast, still clutching the phone like it might escape. That was the first real crack. A week later, I noticed the hotel charges. I was paying bills online, sorting through statements when I saw it. The Fairmont, charged twice in 1 week. We hadn't been to a hotel in over a year, not since our anniversary stay that ended in her saying she was too tired and sleeping fully dressed. I didn't say anything that night. Instead, I started watching how late she came home, how quickly she shut her laptop when I walked into the room, how suddenly my sister Lauren stopped calling me, after being practically glued to Emma for years. Then came the photos. I didn't even look for them. They found me, literally dropped into my lap. A brown envelope, no return address, slid into our mailbox with "To Alex. You need to see this," scribbled in rushed pen. Inside, photos of Emma and Mark. Him pressing her against the side of a black SUV, her leg wrapped around him like a goddamn yoga pose. Another of them walking hand in hand, smiling like they were the ones who just signed the marriage certificate. Mark was my college roommate, my best man, godfather to our daughter, a man who once held my dying father's hand and told him, "I'll look out for your boy." Yeah, he did. With my wife. In my house. For 9 whole years. 9 years. You start doing math at that point, like a broken calculator that keeps short-circuiting. What was I doing during those years? Working late shifts? Picking up extra hours to pay for Chloe's asthma meds? Planning our beach trip, she bailed on last minute claiming food poisoning? No, she wasn't sick. She was with Mark, playing house. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. Not then. Instead, I printed every photo, laid them out on the dining room table like evidence in a trial. I waited for her to get home. She waltzed in, humming some song she never sang around me anymore, tossing her keys on the counter. She stopped when she saw them. Her face paled, lips parted, but no tears. No apology. Just that icy, bitch's stare that said, "What are you gonna do, Alex?" Then came her monologue. That speech. Those words that'll never leave my skull. "You were never enough for me. The rest, you know." I said, "Noted, Emma." And I walked. But I didn't vanish. I rewrote the ending. And believe me, I didn't write a fairy tale that you'd think a betrayal that deep would crash into your life like a freight train. But no, it seeps in. Quiet. Creeping. Like black mold behind your bedroom wall. By the time you smell the rot, it's already everywhere. After I walked out that night, I didn't go to a hotel. I drove. Just drove. Through back roads, neighborhoods I hadn't seen in years, even past the old apartment Emma and I lived in when things were still simple. Before the lies. Before Mark. I ended up parked outside a 24-hour diner, staring at a neon, open sign like it held answers. Inside, I sat down, ordered black coffee, and pulled out my phone. I wasn't ready to call anyone yet. Not my sister. Not Chloe. God, especially not Chloe. But I was ready to look. You see, betrayal doesn't just appear, it leaves footprints. And now I had the eyes to follow them. First, I searched old texts. I had a habit of never deleting anything, and for once, my digital hoarding paid off. Back in 2016, there was a weird message from Lauren, my sister, saying, "Hope you made it back okay. Emma said you left early." I didn't remember leaving anything early that weekend. I was at a work retreat. Emma stayed home. More texts followed. Pieces. Little slips. Things I had once read without reading. But now they screamed. Lauren, don't worry, I'll cover for you if Alex asks where you were. Emma, you're a lifesaver. Again. Lauren, you owe me wine and silence. Wine and silence. I should have seen it. My own sister. She was always close to Emma, but I thought it was just a sister-in-law bond. Nope. It was a cover-up network. And Mark? I dug into his social media. Private, locked down. But he was lazy with tags. A photo from a company retreat in Cabo 2 years ago. He's holding a glass of champagne. The reflection in his sunglasses showed a woman. Blurry, but unmistakable. Emma's long blonde hair. Her signature heart-shaped necklace. The one I gave her for our 5th anniversary. I called his office pretending to be a client. Receptionist chirped. He's out today, but his assistant Emma can take a message. His assistant. She told me she hated his company. That she was helping temporarily after he lost his admin. That it was just to pay down bills. But she'd been working with him for 3 years. I started compiling. Photos. Screenshots. Emails. I even printed receipts from our joint account. Dinners I never attended. Uber rides to unfamiliar addresses. Lingerie charges from when I was out of town. I wasn't just wounded anymore. I was sharpening. Turning pain into purpose. The worst part? Our bed. One of the pictures, the ones from that anonymous envelope, was taken through our upstairs window. Mark's car in the driveway, late night. Bedroom light on. Curtains slightly parted. 2 silhouettes. Tangled. Laughing. I remembered that night. I had been in Chicago, giving a presentation to a board that promised me a raise they never delivered. I called her before bed. She sounded sleepy. Said she'd had a long day. Told me she loved me. While Mark was inside me and Emma's shared space. Using our sheets. My pillow. You know what kind of fury builds in your chest when you realize your enemy used your toothbrush holder? That they stood where you stood every morning, tying a tie, while you were trusting them with your life. It's not just pain. It's humiliation. It's like being set on fire by the people you loved most, and they don't even have the decency to pretend they're sorry. I didn't sleep that night. I went back to the house the next day. She was gone. Gym or wherever liars go to clear their conscience. I packed a bag. My documents. Some cash. Then I walked upstairs. I stripped the bed. Every sheet, every pillowcase, the mattress protector, gone. I poured bleach on the mattress. Left the windows open. Made sure she'd walk in and know that nothing about this house would feel like home again. And then I sat at the kitchen table. Waited for her. I wasn't planning a scene. I wanted to hear it from her mouth. I needed it. The truth. Raw. Ugly. When the front door opened, she walked in carrying a green smoothie like it was any other Tuesday. I slid the photos across the table. No words. Just the proof. Her face froze. She didn't speak right away. Just stared. Then she laughed. Laughed. And that, right there, was the moment she turned from wife to enemy. She laughed. Not nervously. Not with guilt. Not like someone caught red-handed. No. Emma laughed like I'd just told her a joke about a dog wearing a suit. She stood there, smoothie in hand, and let out a deep, bitter laugh, shaking her head like I was the idiot in the room. You really waited for me? She said. Walking past me like this was some mild inconvenience. That's rich. I didn't move. Just sat still at the table, arms crossed, watching her. She set her keys down like she owned the place, which, technically, she still did, and gave the photos a glance like they were grocery receipts. Where did you get these? She asked, finally meeting my eyes. No panic. Just calculation. Does it matter? I said. They're real. She rolled her eyes and dropped into the chair across from me. Okay, fine. You found out. What now? You want me to cry? Beg? Apologize? She took a long sip of her smoothie. Grow up, Alex. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. I gave you everything, I said quietly. Time, money, trust. I gave you years, Emma. She snorted. Yeah, and you were so busy being the noble provider that you forgot to see me. You were always gone, working, stressing, trying to fix the world. But you never fixed this. I thought I was building something for us, I replied. No, you were building something for you, she snapped, and dragging me along like a prop. I could feel my heart thudding in my chest, my fingers curling into fists. But I didn't raise my voice. I wouldn't give her that. So you decided to punish me by bringing him into our bed? She smiled. It wasn't punishment, sweetheart. It was rescue. Rescue. I swear I felt something crack behind my ribs. She leaned in, elbows on the table like we were just two old friends chatting about regrets. Mark listened. He saw me. And yeah, it started physical, but it became something deeper. Something real. That's my best friend, I said. The man who toasted at our wedding. Who held Chloe when she was born. She didn't blink. And he was still a better husband than you ever were. Those words, they didn't just hurt. They hollowed me out. That's when she dropped the bomb. The one that turned betrayal into absolute devastation. She slammed her glass on the table and hissed. You were never enough for me, Alex. While you were drowning in hospital bills and chasing hopeless dreams, I was building a real life with Mark. He gave me purpose, gave me 2 sons, and made me feel alive. We used your bed, under your roof, for almost 9 years. And your own sister helped us cover it up. She always said Mark was the brother she wished she had. The room went still. My lungs forgot how to breathe. 2 sons? She never told me Mark had kids. I thought they were his exes from before. But no, she said gave me 2 sons. Meaning they were hers too. Meaning those boys I saw once, at a barbecue Mark invited us to, were mine in no way. And Lauren, my sister, my blood, she helped them. For years. I stood up slowly, chest tight, but my face calm. I looked her dead in the eye and said the only words I had left. Noted, Emma. Then I turned and walked out. No shouting. No breaking things. No begging her to explain. I gave her the silence she deserved and left her in the wreckage she built. As I walked to the car, everything inside me burned. But on the outside, I was ice. That was the moment I buried the old version of me. The version who loved blindly, who trusted too easily, who forgave too quickly. And from that moment on, I started rewriting the ending. When I stepped outside that day, I expected the world to feel different, like something huge had just shattered, and surely, the ground should crack under my feet. But everything looked normal. The sky was still blue. The neighbors were still mowing their lawn. Life just kept going, like nothing happened. But inside me, it was like someone had detonated a grenade and walked away smiling. I sat in my car for maybe an hour. No music, no calls, just the hum of the engine and the sound of my own breathing, shallow and ragged. I looked in the rearview mirror and didn't recognize the man staring back. His eyes were red. His jaw clenched so tight you could hear his teeth grind. And his hands, God, they wouldn't stop shaking. I wasn't angry at first. Not really. I was something worse. Empty. It's like my emotions checked out. I had just lost a wife, a best friend, a sister, and maybe even a decade of my life to a lie, and yet I felt nothing. A numbness so heavy it crushed my lungs. I drove to the old warehouse where I used to work on my car. I had the key. Emma never liked that place, said it smelled like rust and regret. Funny, that's exactly what I needed. I sat on the concrete floor, leaning against the back of my half-finished '68 Mustang, and I cried. Not the movie kind. Not one perfect tear down the cheek. No, this was primal. Gut-wrenching. I was gasping, sobbing, punching the floor like that might undo what she'd done. Like it might unkiss Mark's lips from her skin. Like it might erase the image of their shadows in our bedroom window. You don't just lose someone you love. You lose a version of yourself that existed only because you believed in that person. I remembered our wedding day. How her hand shook when she said, I do. I thought it was nerves. Now I wonder if it was guilt. I remembered holding Chloe in that hospital room while Emma slept, exhausted and glowing. How she smiled in her sleep and murmured, our little family. How I kissed her forehead and whispered, forever. Was it all just performance? Was I ever loved? That thought, that question, hurt more than anything. Because even betrayal is easier to swallow than the idea that maybe you were just a placeholder. A paycheck. A fallback plan. Over the next few days, I went dark. No calls. No texts. I didn't answer Lauren, who finally had the nerve to message me with a lame, "Let's talk." I didn't respond to Emma's fake-ass attempt at closure. I hope one day you can understand. Understand what? That she built a second life inside mine. That she smiled at me across the dinner table, all while mapping out an escape route with my best friend? Understand that she used my sister to clean up their mess? No, there would be no understanding, no compromise, no half-forgiveness to keep the peace. I made a vow that week, not to Emma, not to God, not even to Chloe, just to myself. I will never let anyone shrink me again. I will never love blindly, trust carelessly, or tolerate crumbs when I gave the whole damn feast. Emma thought she ended me. She thought this would break me. But it didn't. It woke me up. I wasn't the man I used to be. That man died on the kitchen floor next to a smoothie glass and a pile of photos. The man who stood up and said noted was someone else entirely. Someone dangerous. Someone who was about to take his life back. Piece by piece. A week passed. 7 full days of silence. No Emma. No Lauren. No Mark. Not even Chloe, though that part wasn't her fault. She was away at summer camp. And thank God for that. She didn't need to witness the nuclear fallout of her parents' marriage. That week, I lived in my car some nights, the Mustang's leather seats worn but familiar. I showered at the gym, ate when I remembered, slept when my brain stopped replaying every moment I ever believed Emma was loyal. And then one morning, I woke up, different. I didn't feel better, but I felt clearer, sharper, like something inside me had clicked into place. I wasn't going to let this become my life's tragedy. No. I was going to turn it into my damn origin story. I started with the lawyer. Her name was Deborah Klein, sharp as a scalpel and twice as deadly. I told her everything. Every photo, every receipt, every betrayal. She didn't flinch, just jotted notes, occasionally glancing up like she was already thinking 10 steps ahead. Adultery, fraud, misuse of joint funds. If you want full custody, we can make that happen, she said. And if those boys really are Mark's and Emma's, that'll come out in the deposition. Trust me, I didn't even have to say yes. My silence was enough. Then came the bank. I froze every joint account, transferred my salary to a new private one, canceled her cards, except one. I left the gas card open, just to let her wonder when it would get declined. Petty? Maybe. But after 9 years of being her safety net, it felt good to cut the cord. Then, the house. I didn't want it. Every wall smelled like betrayal. Every room held ghosts. But I knew Emma wanted to keep it, because Mark helped renovate it, because her boys had a swing set in the yard. So I offered to buy her out, for half of its current market value. She laughed when she got the email, replied with one sentence. "You're hilarious." My reply? "You're homeless in 30 days. See you in court." I filed for divorce the same day. But the biggest decision, the one that twisted my stomach, was Chloe. I loved my daughter more than life itself. And no matter how poisonous her mother turned out to be, I couldn't erase that bond. She was still our daughter, even if our marriage had died a brutal, public death. I asked Deborah what it would take for me to get primary custody. She asked if I had proof Emma's been an unfit parent. She cheated, I said. She lied. She's built an entire second family in secret. Deborah tilted her head. Cheating doesn't make her a bad mother. Not legally. So I did what I had to. I started collecting everything. Photos of Emma leaving Mark's place late at night while Chloe was home alone. Notes from Chloe's school showing her slipping grades. Voice recordings of Emma blowing off parenting responsibilities. I became a quiet storm, patient, building strength, waiting to strike. I also talked to Chloe. That was the hardest conversation of my life. We sat on a park bench near the duck pond she used to love when she was little. She looked up at me, confused, sensing the weight of something she didn't understand. "Sweetheart," I said, "Mom and I aren't going to be living together anymore." Her eyes filled immediately. Did I do something wrong? God, that sentence shattered me more than Emma ever could. No, baby, you didn't do anything. This is between me and Mom. And no matter what happens, I'm always here for you. Always. She nodded slowly, wiping her face. Will I still see you? I swallowed hard. Yes, I promise. I'm going to make sure of that. And I meant it. Every decision I made from that moment on was about protecting Chloe. giving her the kind of love her mother was too selfish to provide. I wasn't just walking away from Emma. I was building a world where Chloe could grow up knowing what real love looked like. Emma took my loyalty, my trust, and my dignity. But she wasn't taking my daughter. Not now. Not ever. Fallout doesn't happen all at once. It creeps in. Quiet. Like smoke under a door before the fire erupts. 3 days after filing for divorce, the phone calls began. Emma first. Blocked. Then Lauren. Ignored. Then Mark. I stared at his name on my screen. Mark H. The same name that used to show up with texts like "Game Night Saturday" or "You good, brother?" Now, nothing but poison. He left a voicemail. His voice was calm, fake composed. The kind of calm that masks guilt under layers of arrogance. "Alex, I don't know what Emma told you, but this wasn't planned. It just happened. Things between you two have been broken for a while. I stepped in because she was falling apart, man. You weren't there." He actually said that. Like his betrayal was a service. I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say to someone who stood beside me at my wedding and then crawled into my wife's bed for nearly a decade. His words were nothing but vomit wrapped in apologies. But Emma? Emma didn't go down quiet. She showed up at my office. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I was halfway through reviewing a project brief when the receptionist buzzed. "There's a woman here, says her name's Emma Hayes." I nearly choked on my coffee. I stood, buttoned my jacket, and walked out to the front lobby. And there she was, like a storm cloud in heels. Wearing a low-cut black dress she probably thought would distract me. It didn't. "Can we talk?" she said, lips tight. "Not here," I muttered. "Follow me." I led her to the parking garage, where concrete echoed every step. Private. Cold. Perfect. She turned on the waterworks fast. Tears that looked real, probably rehearsed in the mirror. "Alex, please," she sniffed. "You blindsided me. I thought we could handle this like adults." "Adults?" I said. "You lied for 9 years. Slept with my best friend in my house. Built a family behind my back. Adults don't do that." She looked down. "I didn't mean for it to get that far." I laughed. "You mean you didn't mean to get caught?" Silence. Then she exploded. "You know what? Fine. Blame me. Be the victim. But don't act like you were some perfect husband. You were always working. Always somewhere else. I needed more than just someone who paid the bills." "So you took Mark?" I asked, and dragged my sister into it. She offered. Emma spat. "Lauren said she'd help because you were always so clueless." That hit harder than I expected. "I want the house," she said suddenly. Like her nerves flipped to greed. "You can have the car, the boat, whatever. But the house is mine." I stepped closer. Inches away. "You had 9 years to build something with Mark," I whispered. "Why don't you ask him to buy you a house?" She clenched her jaw. "And those boys?" I added. "You lied to everyone. To me. To them. To Chloe. You destroyed a family so you could play pretend with the guy who used to pass out on our couch." "I'm still their mother," she growled. "Not mine," I said. "And soon, not my daughter's guardian either." She froze. "What?" I let it sink in. "I'm filing for full custody. You can keep your lies, your affair, and your sad little empire. I'm keeping Chloe." Her face twisted. Rage, fear, ego, all crashing at once. "You're gonna regret this," she hissed. "No," I said, walking away. I already regretted staying. That night, Lauren tried to call again. I finally picked up. Her voice cracked instantly. "Alex, I didn't mean for it to get this far." "Don't," I interrupted. "Don't call me. Don't text. Don't pretend you're family. You buried that the day you chose her over me." "But I love you," she whimpered. "No," I said. "You love secrets." Click. The fallout wasn't just emotional, it was nuclear. And now, I was clearing the wreckage. One lie at a time. Revenge isn't always loud. Sometimes it's surgical. Precise. It doesn't come from rage, it comes from clarity. And I was finally clear. I wasn't out for blood. I didn't want to scream in court or burn down everything we once had. No, I wanted Emma to feel it. Not just the loss. The insignificance. I wanted her to realize she was never as clever as she thought. So I started where it hurt most, reputation. Emma had built a little social circle in town. PDA meetings, charity brunches, neighborhood gossip hours. She wore that fake perfect wife image like a tiara. Smiling, lying, keeping the other suburban Stepford moms convinced her life was goals. So I ruined it. I didn't send anonymous letters or start drama on Facebook. I was smarter than that. I leaked one video, just one. From the security camera I'd installed in the hallway years ago after a break-in scare. It caught Mark walking out of our bedroom, barefoot, shirtless, at 2:37 a.m. on a Tuesday. Emma followed 2 minutes later, kissing him, pulling his shirt to her face and laughing. I didn't even add a caption, just sent it anonymously to 5 of the town's biggest gossip conduits. It spread like wildfire. Emma's phone blew up. She started losing invites. The church group paused her membership. Her little yoga crew stopped showing up for coffee. People she gossiped with were suddenly gossiping about her. She texted me in all caps. "Embarrassing me won't fix you." No, I thought, but it'll finally show people who you really are. Next, I took care of Mark. Mark had a company, small business and logistics. Nothing flashy, but he prided himself on ethics, on his clean image, especially since he was courting a deal with a major client. A client I happened to know through an old college buddy who now sat on that company's board. So I made a few calls, shared some documentation, a few concerns about Mark's personal choices and how he'd been using business trips as rendezvous getaways. Tossed in a quiet note about misused corporate funds. Emma had used Mark's business card for spa treatments and lingerie. The deal fell through. Mark's company lost the contract. Word got around. He fired Emma the same week. Yeah, fired her. Apparently, she wasn't the long-term partner he promised she was. Just a liability once the fallout hit his wallet. When Chloe came back from camp, I didn't say much. I didn't poison her against her mother. I let her see for herself. Emma tried to play the doting mom, tried to invite Chloe to stay longer weekends. But Chloe was sharp. She picked up on the tension, the distance, the bitterness behind Emma's tight smiles. One night, Chloe asked me, "Did Mom really love Mark more than you?" I looked her in the eyes and said, "Mom loved herself more than anyone else." That was enough. But the revenge that mattered most? Court. Deborah came armed like a general in a legal war. Emails, videos, witness statements, financial records. Emma tried to cry, claimed she was pressured, manipulated, mentally exhausted. She said she had emotional needs that weren't being met. The judge didn't care. I got primary custody. She got weekends, with supervision at first. She cried outside the courtroom, not out of love, out of loss. She lost her social standing, her lover, her income, her daughter, her home. I didn't gloat. I didn't rub it in. I just walked past her, holding Chloe's hand. Emma called after me. "Alex, wait." I paused, turned slightly. "I never meant to hurt you," she said, voice cracking. I looked her in the eye. Calm, steady. "You didn't just hurt me, Emma," I said. "You taught me who I am without you." Then I walked away. Again. But this time, it wasn't escape. It was victory. That it's funny how silence becomes your best teacher once the noise fades. After everything, after the courtroom, the custody battle, the betrayals, the lies, I didn't go out celebrating. I didn't pop champagne or post some cryptic, victorious quote online. I just sat in the living room of my new apartment, in a chair I bought myself, holding a warm mug of coffee and breathing. For the first time in years, it was quiet. Real, peaceful silence. And it didn't hurt. The first thing I learned? You can't save someone who's committed to sinking you. I spent so many years trying to be enough for Emma, working longer hours, taking on more projects, planning anniversaries she forgot, defending her coldness as stress or just a phase. I gave everything hoping she'd finally look at me the way she looked at him. But now I know, it was never about what I lacked. It was about what she craved. Chaos, attention, control. I wasn't a husband to her. I was an accessory, a background character in a drama she directed. She wasn't looking for love. She was looking for worship. The second thing? Loyalty is a choice. So is betrayal. What Emma did wasn't a mistake. It was a series of choices, calculated, repeated, deliberate. She didn't trip and fall into Mark's arms. She crawled there, smiling, while I slept 3 feet away. And Lauren? She didn't accidentally keep the secret. She helped bury the truth like it was her weekend hobby. And the worst part? They both justified it. Emma said, "You weren't enough." Lauren said, "I didn't want to hurt you." But betrayal always wears a mask. Sometimes it looks like love. Sometimes it sounds like family. But the feeling? You'll know it when it hits. And when it does, don't ignore it. Third, your peace is more powerful than revenge. Yes, I hit back. I exposed the truth. I took control. But the real revenge was thriving. It was rebuilding a life they thought they'd burned to ash. Every smile Chloe gives me now, every night I sleep without wondering whose cologne is on my sheets, every time I walk past a mirror and don't feel shame. That's the win. Emma? She's still spiraling. Mark dumped her for a coworker. She's back living with her mother. Lauren's influencer brand took a hit after a few quiet leaks about her involvement. Karma didn't need my help. It just needed time. And me? I started coaching again. Basketball at the local rec center. Kids who still believe in loyalty, effort, teamwork. It reminded me what it feels like to be trusted. To be looked at with eyes that see worth, not opportunity. Chloe's with me most days. We talk openly. No secrets. She knows the truth. Not all the dirty details, but enough. Enough to understand that love isn't supposed to hurt. That being loved means being respected. And if you're wondering whether I'll ever love again, I will. But not like before. Not blindly. Not desperately. Next time, I'll love with my eyes open. With standards. With boundaries. Because now I know what I'm worth, and I'll never discount myself for anyone again. If you're reading this and you've been through betrayal, whether it was your partner, your friend, your own family, here's what I'd tell you. Feel the pain. All of it. But don't stay there. Grieve what you lost, even if it was fake. Because your feelings were real. Your love was real. And that deserves mourning. But once the storm passes, stand up. Stand up and start building. Not to prove them wrong, but to prove to yourself that they never defined you in the first place. I was broken. Now I'm whole. And the man I became? He's not someone Emma would recognize. But that's okay. Because she doesn't matter anymore. The ending isn't hers. It's mine. And I'm just getting started.